exclusive, being the only one of its kind, unique, possessing qualities that belong to no other. Hello, my exclusive family, and welcome back to another video. I'm finally bringing y'all a detailed and probably the most detailed you're ever gonna find here on YouTube, but a detailed closure wig video. And today I'll be showing you guys how I construct this beautiful Naomi Campbell 26-inch closure wig. And I can guarantee you ladies that you will be leaving this video with at least 2 new learned tricks. And if you're ready for that, then keep on watching. So today I will be using this Allie Grace hair for this wig, and I can honestly tell y'all that this is by far the best AliExpress hair I've ever used. And we are working with the lengths 26, 24, 24, and a 20-inch closure. And this of course is a 4x4 closure, and already comes a bit pre-plucked with some baby hairs, and that's a huge plus. So the first thing we're going to be doing is prepping our closure to perfection, and I'll show you guys how. These are the products we're going to be needing, so take a quick screenshot. It'll definitely come in handy. So for closures, 1 scoop or a scoop and a half of the bleaching powder is enough. You really don't need that much. Then I'll be pouring enough developer to give me a creamy consistency. Now most YouTubers will tell you guys, keep your consistency thick, but no, because your consistency should not be too thick to where you're applying too much pressure just to get it on your lace. Obviously, it shouldn't be too liquidy either, but at least it should be creamy and thick enough to where you can apply it easily without applying too much pressure on your lace. Because applying too much pressure is how you get it onto the hairs, and we don't want that. So I'm basically just brushing the baby hairs backwards on this closure, and I simply ran my comb through some water to help the hair stay down. To apply the bleach mix on, I'll be using a knife, and I always make sure that I'm holding the closure with one hand so that I know exactly how much pressure I'm applying. This will stop me from getting the mix onto the hairs on the other side of the lace. And I'm not going to speed this part up because I want you guys to see exactly how I'm doing it. As you can see, just very light pressure is what you should be using to make sure that this mixture stays right on top of your lace. And I'm not even going to give you guys a specific amount of time on how long you should bleach the knots, because each brand of hair has a different quality. So some may take 30 minutes, some may take up to 2 hours. Honestly, the best thing for you to do is to just constantly check it until it has reached the bleach level that you want it to. I also always do the hairline last, and I like to hold on to the front of the lace as I'm doing this. I use a lighter amount of pressure here because the knots in the front are a lot smaller and they're not as thick as the ones in the back. Then I'm going to just place it on top of a foil and tap it in gently, and as you can see, no knot was left behind and not a single hair is covered in bleach.
A few moments later.
So now all I'm doing is just rinsing the bleach off once I'm satisfied with the way the knots look. And I'm just making sure every bit of white is off. Then I'll be taking this holy grail of a product and putting it all over the closure. This purple shampoo gets rid of the brassiness you get after bleaching your knots. Make sure you always use this on your knots so that once you do make your parting, you're not walking around with the Red Sea on your head. And yeah, I'm just gonna let that sit for some time. Okay, so say hi to this other frontal I was working on, but I'm just gonna rinse all of that product off of this closure and comb it through to make sure that it's tangle free. And y'all can see how well this came out with the methods I used. This is bleached to perfection, and I am honestly living for it. Like, do y'all see this scalp?
Period.
First, I just want to give a quick shout out to my OG wig head, and she's a veteran, y'all, so I had to get a brand new one just for y'all. So like, what should we name her? I'm thinking Janae, Ruby, Sky. I don't know, what do y'all think? But anyways, this is the wig cap that I always use. I've grown to love the mesh cap more than the spandex ones, and I'm just gonna plop it right on and make sure that everything is centered. Y'all remember when everyone used to say,
measure every part of your head, circumference, ear to ear, front to back?
All of that stuff is so useless, sis. Like, you don't need to waste your time. The only measurements that I really care for is the front to back, and I have pretty standard markings on my OG wig block as a reference every time that I make wigs on there. And most people's heads usually measure from 14 to 15 inches from front to back. So as long as it's pretty close, you should be good. It doesn't have to be exact measurements at all. This measurement will make sure that it reaches from the front of your head all the way to the back, and to me that's all that matters. And also, if you are still making wigs on a styrofoam head, sis, cut it out. That is not gonna give you the exact measurements. Those styrofoam heads are so much smaller than your actual head. Like, you need to get something that is obviously closer to the size of your actual head, because I mean, PEMDAS, you know. Now I'm just going to place my closure on, and I'm moving the hairline a bit forward from the wig cap, and I'm going to place it down with the T-pin in the middle, and using the markings on the canvas head, I'm just going to T-pin the middle of the closure on that line and pin the rest of the sides down as well. Then I'm just going to braid it down to, you know, keep the hairs out of the way. So this is the type of needle I like to use. And sewing the closure onto the wig is extremely easy once you have everything flat and in place. All you do is start by placing the needle through the closure and the wig cap. Then you're going to wrap the thread around the needle 3 times, just like this, and then tightly secure it. I don't think y'all are listening, so let's try this again, okay? Place the needle through the wig cap and the closure. Then you're going to wrap the thread around the needle a total of 3 times, and then secure your knot. I do this about 2 or 3 times at the beginning of the closure, and then I just continue stitching, doing basic stitches throughout. I don't do any other knots because I want this part to be as flat as possible, and I don't want it to be bulky at all. Once I get to the end, then I'm just going to secure it by making 2 or 3 knots. I'm going to wrap the thread around the needle 3 times and then pull it through to create a knot. So like I said earlier, we're going to be using 3 bundles of 26, 26, and 24. And I'm going to double track both the 26s and single weft the 24. I start with the folded part, and I love to T-pin the entire row before I start sewing them down. For my first stitch, I like to pull the needle through the wefts and then knot it for some extra security. And for the remainder of the bundles, I like to stitch by going under the wefts. I knot every single stitch I make when sewing my bundles down, and everything is pretty repetitive. Just pull the needle through from underneath the wefts, wrap the thread around the needle 3 times, and pull to secure.
Oh my God, man, she's an asset. Only stay in the own lane. She liking me cause I don't give nothing more than a good vibe. You want a cool time? You can call me so I put that.
To flip over my wefts, first I like to take my thread up and keep it out of the way. Then I will be T-pinning the wefts on the other side, and then I like to pull the needle through both wefts and on the cap. I like to pull down the bundle as I secure the knot to make sure that everything is really secure and flat. As you secure the fold, it's good to make that stitch as far from the fold as possible so that the tension will flatten it out and not make it bulky at all. When I run out of thread, I just simply add a new thread right next to the last knot, and then I just keep on stitching.
The way she whining, I want to grab that waist and be whining. We turn it from right to left, to right to left. We take it slow, there's nothing left to do. Oh, no, 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 cause I'm on the voice. You gon' know say bad man don't solve. Cause I'm on the voice.
To add the next bundle, all I do is T-pin it a few inches out, then I pull the needle through the end and then through the wig cap right next to the last stitch, and I just pull it through and secure it. I don't ever cut the thread and start stitching all over again. So let me show y'all how to strategically use the space that you have. So you see how wide this part is and then how small this part is? So in order to not run out of space on the smaller side, your spacing in the middle has to be wider. Let me show y'all. You see how much wider the spacing is in the middle? I bet your geometry teacher didn't teach you that. Anyways, I'm just gonna keep stitching till I get all the way to the top.
She's the baddest. Oh my god, man, she's an asset. Only stay in the only.
So like I said, my entire last bundle is single tracked. For my last row, I don't like to knot it at all so that everything can stay flat on the top. I also like to pull each stitch through the closure as well. To finish everything off, finally, I'm going to secure it all down with a couple of knots. So now I'm just going to be cutting that extra lace off underneath, and as y'all can see, this is in need of a good tint. So I'm going to place the wig inside out on the wig head, and I'll just be taking this foundation powder from the beauty supply, and then I'll be also using my Real Techniques blending sponge just to add some color, some melanin to this lace. Then with the Got2B Freeze Blast spray, I'm going to spray that right on to seal the color in and just let it dry for some time. Then we're going to start styling this wig, and first what I like to do is plucking. Now I like to make my parting first before I start plucking, because this way you don't pluck where your parting is and then have a huge bald spot. So I like to pluck in 3 sections, and I always start in the back. So I pluck the back first just until I feel like it's good enough, and then make another section right in front of that. And then once I'm done with that second section, then I'm just gonna go into the edges, and I make sure I do the edges very, very lightly. And to do this, I always use slanted tip tweezers. I find that these work best when it comes to plucking. I'm not gonna go too much in detail because if I did, it would be a whole video. But for now, everything is basically as it seems. I don't do too much when it comes to plucking my closures. So once I'm pretty much satisfied with everything, I'm just gonna take this hot comb and lay everything really, really flat. Then I'm gonna be going in with some bio silk and just putting a little bit of that in my hands and running that all throughout the hair. Lastly, all I'm going to be doing is just flat ironing this wig, and I'm using this Conair Infinity Pro ceramic flat iron, and I think I got this from Ulta for probably about $44. And yeah, this part is pretty repetitive, just going over it multiple times until it reaches the silkiness and the straightness that I want. I'm also going in just a little bit with some of that Got2B Freeze Blast spray, making sure that the top is really, really flat and sleek. And y'all, that is basically it for this video. We were able to bleach our knots, sew down the closure, construct the wig, pluck the hairline, and style the wig. And our end result is this beautiful, long, straight, and flat wig when you do put it on. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you've watched this far and you still haven't subscribed, just know that you just hurt my feelings. Like, we're practically friends now. Anyways, let me leave y'all. I'm having too much fun with this. I hope you guys were able to walk away with something from this video and at least learn a new trick or two. I'm sorry that it was lengthy, but I wanted to make sure I got in enough details as possible. And I will see y'all in my next video.
But if you heard that voice, you gonna say bad man don't